Clint Gutherson says time may be running out for the Dragons to find the right halves combination as Shane Flanagan digs in on his selections.
I think when you're in the 7 jersey, there's always going to be added pressure. It doesn't matter if you're winning or you're losing, there's always going to be pressure. And the best way to deal with that is win. If you're winning and you're winning well and playing well and doing your job, the pressure gets off you. And look, it takes time. And we don't have time in the NRL. You've got to make things work pretty quickly. Look, Lockie's handled the whole situation great. He's hasn't kicked stones, hasn't whinged once, just got about his business. And I think they've won 9 in a row in New South Wales Cup. So the 17 that get to play every week is going out there to try and win. And if you don't, your position's on the line.
Shane Flanagan won't budge on the halves crawls. What do you think?
I think this, if Flano was going to budge, this had to be the week. Because Lockie was dropped, was it 7 games back? It was his game management that was letting him down at the time. I can't agree with Flano's assumption that Kyle has done better in that respect. I thought his last game was particularly poor. His kicking game's not good. But if you were going to make a change, this was the week you had to do it, because you look at that draw. They're playing the Eels this week, and look who follows. You've got the Raiders, the Roosters, the Bulldogs, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Sharks, the Warriors.
Tough one.
So if you're going with Kyle Flanagan now, you hitch your wagon to him and you keep him to the end of the season, because I reckon it would be weak to come in a few games into that run and then give someone else like Ilias his chance and then say, well, I told you so. So if this is their time, and Flano's also, he's gambling on his own job here, because they finished 11th last year. And you go through that run and you don't win your share of games, there's a good chance you're going to finish well down the ladder. And the one topic everyone will talk about is the coach and his son.
What does it mean if Flano doesn't finish above 11th this year?
I don't think there's no way that they'll move him on at all. I think Shane Flanagan's the right bloke for the job. I really do. And I think he needs more than just 2 years to improve the Dragons, because they were coming from a pretty low base when he took over. The problem with Flano is that he's got a blind spot when it comes to his son. You know, and I say that with the greatest respect to Shane and to Kyle, and it's admirable that he supports his son and that he comes out swinging for him, but he cannot understand when he says, you know, Kyle's among our best performers every week. That even if it's the case, and even if he thinks it, just don't say it, because the optics of it are terrible.
Well,
and it only works. The father-son combination works if you're Ivan and Nathan Cleary. And you saw with Ricky Stewart last week with Jed just how reserved he was, how much he held him back.
Had to go to him and say, "Oh,
that's right.
Mate, he should be there."
That's right. You're spot on.
It's a really tricky dynamic.
He would be better off, and it would be better for Kyle if he said nothing.
That's right.
Because it doesn't do him any favours. But whether you tell me, can you ignore the fact that it's not just the Dragons fans? We sit here and talk about it too. Like it's an obvious point. They've got Daniel Atkinson going there next year. They brought Lachlan to play 7. And he's gone back. Well, there it is. He's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
They've won 7. He's got tries. He's got huge try assists. He's not missing tackles, 1.3 a game. Like he's doing everything that he possibly could.
And doing everything that Flano wanted him to do.
Yet Kyle is still keeping hold of the 7 jersey.
If your reserve grade's winning games the way they do and your first grade's losing, there's got to be the ladder up. Okay, it can be a slippery slide down, but there's got to be a ladder up.
Well, the problem is, Gordy, with these players is if they go back and play out of their skin and win games and do everything that their coaches ask of them, and they don't get picked in first grade while the first grade team is losing, then what do you do? And I'm sure all the players are probably thinking that and talking about that amongst themselves. It's like, what else can we do? You know, and then that can be toxic in a group. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's from experience myself.
There's an old saying: you can't pull your socks up if you're not wearing any. But with Flano playing his son there, like if it's not the most important position on the field, it's one of the 2 most important positions on the field. And it's not working for the Dragons if they slide down the ladder further this year. It's a problem that they've got to address. And it doesn't seem like they have gone about addressing it.
There was a real reluctance from St George directors to get Shane Flanagan to the club in the first place because of this very situation that we're in. that they're in now.
right.
About the problem, about how it would work with Kyle coming to the club, and it's coming to fruition. But for me, and as a long-suffering Dragons fan, it goes deeper than this. Like, I don't understand how a club with the biggest nurseries in the competition, and have been for decades, cannot unearth an organising halfback. It's been a problem with that club for decades, and I know they got King Tonga coming through, and I've got a few other young players coming through, Kate Reid. But before that, it was going to be Amon and Bud Sullivan. So the Dragons just have this inability to keep halves.
All key players. Look at the young winger from Canberra this year,
But in particular, decent quality halves when they have a nursery like the one that they do.
Yeah, all right, breaking news too this afternoon. Sloan is free to leave. So Coach Flanagan has given him the opportunity to negotiate with other clubs. Thoughts on this?
Sad. He had so much potential, and when he's on. But there's parts of his game that aren't up to NRL standard at the moment.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Look, watching that game against the Sharks 2 weeks back, it was obvious that he wasn't going to keep his spot going forward. He came up with multiple errors. That collision with Gutho under the high ball that day, it was just kind of like it was coming.
Yeah, he's a player that you look at him. And it's sort of similar to Nico Hines in a way, that you can tell that he's just struggling with confidence and belief. But when he's on, he's got so much talent. Like, the kid could be a freak. Like, in open space, he's beautiful to watch. And even under the high ball in good field position, he struggles with it coming out of his own end. His carries have got to be better. But there's just so much to this kid that could be special. Seems like he's getting in his own way.
And earlier in the year, he looked like he was enjoying not having the pressure of fullback, like playing on the wing. It just seemed like it was set up for him to take over from Gutho when the time came, but it hasn't worked the other way.